A young guy got into prison for particularly dangerous criminals and stole a lighter from the local crime boss. Do you want to find out what they did to him for it? Let's watch our recap. Eric Love is only 19 years old, but he has already committed many crimes and has spent a long time in juvenile detention centers. He breaks the law again, and this time ends up in an adult prison. He is searched and sent to solitary confinement as a particularly dangerous criminal. It's a small room with a bed, a table, and a toilet. Eric unpacks his belongings, hides several blades in a stash, and examines his battered fists. He is going to spend a very long time here. The guy trains hard to keep fit and notices that his lighter has broken. The prisoners are called for lunch. Eric asks an inmate for a lighter, but he refuses his request. Eric gets his meal and has an argument with the other prisoner named Jago. It's time for a walk. Eric is approached by a skinny, middle-aged man. He turns out to be his father Neville, who also serves a sentence for his crimes. We see that neither of them is happy to see each other. Neville returns to his cell and looks sadly at his little son's drawing. After the walk, prisoners are allowed to wander around the prison block a little more. Eric is reluctant to do so and goes to bed. The neighboring inmate enters his cell and offers him a lighter. Instead of gratitude, the guy attacks him. Seeing that the victim doesn't give signs of life, he drags the body to the guards and then runs to his cell. Eric prepares to fight off the guards, turns his cell into a real trap, and arms himself with table legs. The guards, wearing helmets and carrying shields, break into the cell. The guy fights back violently and takes one of the jailers hostage. Eric demands a helicopter and lots of candy, after which he releases the guard. Instead of a helicopter, he gets a different present: a month in a punishment cell. The guy is dragged to a new place of detention. He keeps fighting back and even biting. A local psychologist, Oliver Baumer, observes the situation with interest. Other prisoners gather near Eric, but they are forced to leave. Baumer asks the main character to release one of the police officers, and when he does, the psychologist protects him from the other guards. Alas, the psychologist can't save Eric from a term in the punishment cell. However, he can help him control his anger and aggression. For this purpose, the guy needs to attend therapy sessions for prisoners held by Baumer. At first, the jailers disagree because Eric is too violent, wild, and aggressive. The therapy can hardly help here. Despite this, the prison governor calls the protagonist to her office and offers him to undergo therapy. If he violates prison discipline even once, he will be immediately kicked out of the group. Instead of answering, Eric tries to start another fight, and the guards take him away. We learn that there is a special hierarchy in this jail. All the prisoners are divided into tough and weak men. Neville and Dennis are the toughest and most powerful people in the cell block where Eric is kept. As you may remember, Neville is Eric's father. The man wants to save his frantic son and hopes that Baumer's therapy will help him. Neville visits Eric and asks him to abide by prison discipline. He explains to his troublemaking son that he must behave calmly, obey the jailers, and not fight with other prisoners. Yet, Eric doesn't care about his father's advice. Taking advantage of the moment, he goes wandering around the prison, enters someone's cell, rummages through other prisoners' belongings, and steals 2 lighters. The guy gives one of them to the inmate, whom he recently beat up. It turns out that the protagonist has just committed the theft in Jago's cell. He takes a high place in the hierarchy as a local drug dealer. The man becomes furious and promises to punish the thief. He suspects Eric, so he orders the other convicts to take revenge on him. The protagonist attends his first therapy session. The guy behaves very rudely and doesn't respond to reprimands. Another fight is about to break out. Eric leaves the room in a rage. Baumer asks the other prisoners to keep an eye on this guy. Later that day, Jago's clients burst into Eric's cell and pounce on him. They force the guy to drink from his toilet. The prisoners, who also undergo Baumer's therapy, stand up for the protagonist. Thanks to this, Eric manages to survive. He washes his dirty head in the shower and dreams of revenge. The youngster can't understand why some prisoners help him. They explain that they do it for Baumer. Neville visits his son again and scolds him for the fact that he keeps bullying and causing fights. The man keeps an eye on his son to determine which convicts have become his enemies and who are his friends. Baumer comes to Eric and asks him to continue the therapy. In response, he defiantly relieves himself, but still agrees to try one more time. However, the next session doesn't yield any results. Eric keeps behaving very aggressively and doesn't intend to change anything. The other prisoners are not happy about it. They want to beat this insolent man up, but Baumer prevents them from doing so. Jago tells his clients that he won't sell them the powder until they deal with Eric. The protagonist pays a visit to his father, but the conversation doesn't go smoothly. The guy regularly attends psychotherapy sessions and makes his first progress. At least his conversations with other people no longer end in a fight, and it's a great achievement. Eric regularly trains in the gym. This helps him to be in shape and get rid of excess aggression. Neville also trains there. The man sees his son doing well and is happy for him for the first time in his life. Eric is taking a shower after one of these workouts. One of Jago's clients sneaks up on him and attacks from behind. The main character suffocates but finds the strength to fight off the enemy. The man confesses that he was sent by Jago. Eric immediately takes a blade out of his stash and heads towards Jago. After receiving a few stabs, the frightened dealer lies that it was Dennis's order. Needless to say, Eric immediately rushes over to Dennis's cell, but gets stopped by his father. The crime bosses call in Jago. Eric realizes that the dealer lied to him. Dennis demands that Jago urgently transfer to the other block, otherwise something very bad will happen to him. The crime boss explains to the guy that he is very lucky because he is constantly protected by his influential father. If it weren't for him, the guy wouldn't survive in this place. Neville visits Baumer. The man is still not satisfied with his son's behavior and scolds the psychologist for the fact that his therapy doesn't bring quick results. However, Neville is wrong. At the next therapy session, Eric restrains his fits of rage quite successfully. Despite unpleasant topics for conversation, the guy doesn't attack anyone and doesn't start another fight. Baumer is delighted. Even the prison management is surprised by these results. Eric quite peacefully communicates with other prisoners and calmly drinks tea with them. The only one who is still unhappy is Neville. He communicates with other members of the therapy group and comes to the conclusion that it is pointless. The man decides to make sure of it personally. He attends the next session, but it doesn't lead to anything good. The crime boss causes a serious conflict and leaves the room in a rage. The friendly atmosphere at the therapy session is gone. Everyone starts shouting, swearing, and even fighting, forcing the prison guards to intervene. The prison governor is convinced that it is Eric's fault and forbids him to attend therapy. Baumer becomes furious and quits. Eric goes mad with rage. These sessions were his only chance to get better. He blames everything on his father and provokes him into a fight. Neville gives in to his son and retreats to his cell, but Eric chases after his father and keeps insulting him. Dennis stands up for his cellmate and gets a couple of hard blows too. The guards separate the brawlers and decide to send the father and son to the punishment cells. Eric obediently accepts his punishment, while Neville rebels and fights off the jailers. They have to douse the man with cold water to calm him down. Despite being confined in the punishment cell, Neville tries to shout to Eric, who is placed in the cell across the hall, and explain to him that he is worried about his son's fate. The boy doesn't believe it and doesn't listen to his father. Neville uses his fellow guard's self to escape from the punishment cell. The man punches the jailer in his face, covers him with a blanket, and locks him in the cell. However, he lacks the courage to free his son. When Neville gets to his cell, he learns the terrible truth. The prison administration wants to get rid of both him and Eric by faking an accident, and Dennis is supposed to carry out this sentence. At that very moment, Dennis attacks Neville and ends up stabbed with his own knife. The man goes to the punishment cell to save his son. He is just in time, as the boy is about to lose his life. Neville deals with the guards, hugs his son, and brings him to his senses. In a fit of fear and panic, Eric begins to cry. The youngster is taken to the hospital wing. One day, he is visited by his friends from the therapy group. They see that Eric is all right. The protagonist is given the opportunity to go out for a short walk. Suddenly, Eric notices his father being taken somewhere by the guards. This is the last time the son sees his father. They can't even hug each other because they are both handcuffed. The truck with Neville drives away in an unknown direction, and Eric returns to his cell,